If you can take your seats, we're getting started. You guys ready? Everyone's ready? Councilman, ready? All right. I'd like to call to order a regular city council meeting. The date is July 17th. The time is 9:40 p.m. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mayor Ronnie Felder, Chairperson Douglas Lawson,
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Chadwick McCoy, Councilperson Kashama Miller Anderson, Councilperson Shirley Lanier, Councilperson Glenn Spiritus,
Here.
City Manager Jonathan Evans,
Present.
Acting City Clerk Deborah Hall McCullen is present, City Attorney Don Nguyen,
Present by phone.
Attorney Tanya Early. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum. You may proceed.
Thank you. If we can have a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Dr. Spiritus. Do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
Yes, Chair.
Go ahead.
I would like to propose that the Long Pine item be moved to its own special day. There needs to be a meeting dedicated for this issue. It's almost 10 o'clock. I know that a number of the Long Pine residents have left already. So because of that, I think that just in general, this should have its own day as a special meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Dr. Spiritus?
is that a motion?
Yes, that is a motion.
Second.
So,
Councilman McCoy, go ahead.
so preliminarily, right? We have to first adopt the agenda to even engage in any substantive discussion about it. And if we can get past that point, I would love to offer some feedback. So, and respectfully, I think the order, the motion and the second was kind of out of order. So we really can't have any discussion
Until we adopt the agenda. Thank
until
you,
we
Council.
agree to be here by adopting the agenda. Yes, sir.
Agreed. Thank you. And I would agree
Chair?
with Councilman.
I just wanted to ask because it says agenda approval, addition, deletions, and substitution. It comes after the approval of the agenda.
So are you asking to delete the item from the agenda?
No. I'm saying I'm looking at it and it says agenda approval, then it says additions, deletions, substitutions. So you're right, it comes after the agenda approval.
That's just the subtitle. So we're gonna do additions, deletions, disclosures, then we adopt.
I see. So then
So-
I was correct in making that motion then.
So she would like to have, and it doesn't need a motion and a second. She's asking to delete it, but I'm sorry, she has a second to delete the item. Councilman McCoy, you had some unreadiness about deleting it.
Well, yes. So
sir.
number one, I don't know what it matters, but we've had it advertised and noticed, number one. Secondly, I certainly understand the concern. We're 3.5 hours behind our normal scheduled time. However, I just caution us, if we delete it, that's potentially going to put us in a very peculiar situation, because is this now the first reading again?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Evans, go ahead.
Yes, this is first reading.
Okay. All right, that's what I wanted to say. I just don't think this is a good idea, because you're setting this up for a reverse condemnation if you're constantly delaying doing this. So that's just my opinion, and especially, and I'm saying this respectfully, and I know they don't understand this, and they're probably going to get the wrong impression when I say this. This isn't for them. This is for the application that was submitted. So if you continue to push off an application, now you're basically making a Burt Harris Act case where you're basically denying someone that very opportunity to submit. So if it's the board's pleasure, cool. I support that decision, but I just think there may be some unintended consequences, and I don't want to. If this is what's going to happen, then let's get on with it.
Chair, if we may be heard on the motion, sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, on behalf of the applicant.
Well, before that, no, we would need to adopt the agenda. And I understand you do want to get your point across before we decide to delete, but board, pleasure of the board, do we want to hear from the applicant before we adopt our agenda?
Sir, Chair, if
Councilwoman,
that's the case, then we will hear from all the residents
No,
or
we're
their
not.
attorneys. So why would we even start this?
well, to that point, they are the applicant, and we would give them an opportunity to be heard. We will be hearing from the residents tonight, which will be on public comment. But being that it's been an item that's been noticed, do we want to hear pleasure of the board from the applicant before deciding on the agenda?
No.
Residents?
We're only going to speak to the
Well,
agenda
hold
question.
on one moment for me, please. I apologize. Thank you. So there's been a request to remove or to delete from the agenda item 9A. Is that 9A and 9B?
Yes.
And move to a set date because it has to be noticed. Okay.
Yes. And I think that I'm sorry, Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I think that the set date is 10 days from today for notice. And I'm not sure Mr. Sermons is here. There's a time frame for the advertisement on his end. Mr. Sermons, could you speak to that? Because I don't want to mix this up.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
I apologize. I missed the question for me.
The question was that this should be deleted from the agenda and brought back on its own special meeting. That's the proposal.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it's 10 days in terms of public notice, but I don't know about in terms of your notice because of it's an application, it's, in your department. I'm not sure.
Yes, the notice requirements, there are three, two of them in city ordinance. One is the sign and the other are mailers. Both of those have to be executed and or postmarked at least 15 days before the hearing. It must be advertised in the newspaper at least 10 days before the hearing, but given the lead time with the Palm Beach Post, usually that comes to about 15 days in advance as well. So generally speaking, we're 3 to 4 weeks out if we want to push it back to another meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sermons. Chair, I just wanted to say that this should not have been on the agenda, period. This should be an item on its own, just like the water issue should have been on its own. So this, having this is a part of this, and we got to now take a motion in about 10 minutes to extend the meeting. And that is being very disrespectful to the residents who came to make comment on this item. And I think that we need to do that in the interest of a fair hearing.
So Councilwoman Lanier is asking for items 9A and 9B to be removed. Unreadiness from the board? If we can move item 11A to consent, would the board be amenable to that?
Yes.
B can go as well, Mr. Chair.
I don't think we can put millage. I think I asked her an agenda review, but Mr. Evans, we have to actually hear that, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. We haven't adopted it yet.
No, we haven't adopted yet. We're still just additions and deletions.
Oh.
So there's a request from Councilwoman Lanier. I actually do not want to have this item deleted, being that it was noticed, being that we do have residents that still stayed the night to actually hear from our residents and for our applicant, but it's going to be the pleasure of the board. All right, any additions, deletions, substitutions, disclosures?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if this is an addition or not. I would just like to make note that there has been a pending settlement agreement before the city with respect to the police chief and the city clerk. And either we should get this put on the agenda in the next few weeks, or we should put it on tonight. It seems to be getting put off over and over and over again. So I don't know. You're familiar? No, this is a different item.
No, what is that item?
That's an item whether the city council has the authority to hire the police chief and the city clerk. And there is a settlement agreement that's been before our council. I know that there was going to be a meeting with the city council to discuss this with the city council, but it seems to keep getting put off. And I just think that we have to bring it to a head sooner or later. One way or another, we have to make a decision on this item.
I would like to have a discussion. If we can talk about that maybe during your commissioner comments, just to be clear, and then get this on a following agenda so that we can hear more about it, because this is the first time we're hearing it. All right. Additions, deletions, disclosures, motion to adopt.
So moved.
Motion been made and properly seconded. This is with deleting items 9A and 9B and moving 11A to consent.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Anderson.
what, I thought after we do the, right before we go into, right after we adopt it, do the pulling from the consent? I didn't.
So
put
we
my-
pulled from consent. Yeah, we haven't pulled yet. We haven't
Okay,
got to consent. We're still on just adopting the agenda.
okay.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Spiritus, Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem McCoy,
Yes.
Chair Lawson,
No.
and that passes with Chair Lawson dissenting.
Thank you. Consent agenda. All items listed on consent of routine and action will be taken with one motion. There's no separate discussion of these items unless a councilperson requests this. In the event, the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence. Is there anyone that wants to pull an item from consent?
Chair,
Go ahead.
I want to pull 2B, based on a conversation that was had at the, Mr. Lanier's meeting the other day, last week.
To
2B.
residents, if you can, as you're leaving, if you could please just keep the noise down. 2B?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll move that to immediately following our consent. Any additional items to be pulled? Do we have any public comment cards, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have one public comment card. The acceptance of comment cards for consent is now closed. We have Barissa Das.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman.
prior to that happening, can we move to extend the meeting?
Thank you. Motion been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
How long, Councilman?
Indefinitely.
Thank you. Motion been made. Second still stands?
Yes.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson McCoy.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Chair Pro Tem McCoy. Councilperson Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Councilperson Spiritus.
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier.
Yes.
Chair Lawson.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Consent, public comment, Ms. Das?
Yes, my name is Commissioner Marissa Das. I'm the Port Commissioner for District 2 at the Port of Palm Beach. My comment card, I thought it was actually designated for the utilities and the underground expansion that you guys are planning to do. And I just wanted to say we're looking into that as well at the port. I think that it's a great plan. It increases safety. It also aesthetically improves the visuals of it when those FPL poles are now underground, and it also protects the community in the event of power outages because those lines are now underground instead of visually easily viewed by the public. But I also, on a separate note, I am running.
Ms. Das, this is
Well,
in
yo,
reference
yo,
to,
yo, yo, we're
this is
not
in
gonna do
reference to
that.
consent, Ms.
This
Das.
is not the time.
This is
In fact, we're not
public
talking
comment?
about running for office, and we're not talking about utilities. This is not on this agenda.
That's why I was looking to see if we had anything about utilities on consent that I missed, but
It was
this is-
1A.
no, this is consent. So if you want to put a public comment card in, you're more than welcome. You can check with the clerk. Thank you, Ms. Das.
I did 3A.
Additional comments from the board? Madam Clerk, roll call.
What is the roll call for, Mr. Chair, for which item?
Consent?
Councilperson Lanier?
Yes.
Councilperson Spiritus?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem McCoy?
Yes.
Chair Lawson?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you. Ms. Miller Anderson pulled 2B. Madam Clerk?
Item 2B, Education Advisory Committee Members, appointments.
Yes. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
I just wanted to ask the question. I know, Ms. Lanier, the applicants that are on here are all school district employees.
Yeah, they're associated with the school district, yes.
Did you want to speak to that, or?
Well, I think that I had wanted to pull it initially because of the fact that a part of the resolution with the original structure of this education committee said that they did not want any member associated with or employed by the Palm Beach County School Board, and I can understand that. This is an education committee that is supposed to be a advisory committee to the council in regards to the education in Riviera Beach. So I had some pause about it because I was not sure that we can move forward with it, or how do we need to move forward with it? Because I think that the discussion centered around at least one person from the school board should be a part of the committee. But the way that it is written, they did not want one on that. Is that a time?
Sorry about that.
That's your time.
We just implemented that. Forget it.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Councilwoman.
Okay, all right. Yeah, shut me up. That's what I
Go
want to
ahead,
say.
Councilwoman. That's
what I-
it?
no,
Okay.
I'm finished. That's what I wanted to say.
Good timing then. Thank you for staying under 3 minutes.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
so I guess my question is, when they applied though, that was not known, I guess, or it wasn't stated when the applicants applied for the advisory board?
Madam Chair, if I may, I'm going to have to look into, but I think there's probably a process whereby staff needs to verify that they, in fact, meet the minimum qualifications associated with the Education Advisory Committee. So I don't think that was, and
I don't think it's on the application. Well, it doesn't, I mean, it states what they do, where they work, but it doesn't
Right.
say it excludes them.
one of the things, yeah, it doesn't say that, and we can make that change. But one of the things I think that the board should consider, especially it is so difficult to fill advisory board positions, and so any opportunity to be more inclusive, to allow for people to serve on advisory boards, especially something as critical as this. You know, you do have a resolution that governs what the criteria is, so it can be a modification to the resolution, and we can look to bring that back with the applications to effectively make those appointments, because, you know, this board and other boards are certainly hard to fill.
Mr. Chair.
But
Yeah, I would be in favor of that, because that is something that we talked about when we were we noticed that there was an issue with that. So I'm okay with that. I can certainly, I was speaking to Ms. Evans about that, so therefore, that'd be perfect. So, anybody?
Yeah, we can pull it now, bring it back, and then of course by that time hopefully we'll have more applicants. But we do need to revisit that item that said that nobody on the committee should be from the school board, and I get that, but we should have at least one representation there so we can kind of discuss, 1, 2, 3, whatever the case may be.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
One of the options I was thinking about when you raised this particular item, Councilperson Lanier, is that a situation where 51% of the board has to be comprised of non-school board. So you do have some representation, because invariably you're going to have people that are in the education systems that are interested in effectively being on that board. So if you put a situation where they're ineligible to participate, you are going to have a hard time filling this advisory board.
I can agree with that. So we can bring that back with that caveat. 51% non-school board members.
So we're going to be bringing this item back?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Board, discuss, Councilman McCoy.
So I see the one paragraph in terms of what the background is. The annotated agenda that we have here doesn't list out these individuals' resumes, nor does it list out, it having an actual cover page. But I'm looking at it online, but was this originally done by way of a resolution, or is this codified in our code of ordinances? Because this cover page doesn't say what's the authority that created this. And what I don't want, we need to revisit it, because the Education Advisory Committee, which is an arm of the city who's going to be a public agency, is not going to be charged with administering the annual award of educational scholarships. I'm not going to put that into the authority of some volunteers, because we're not about to create a situation where some advisory members may be prefacing some student, and then, I don't want that. Should, we can certainly allow them to fill the applications, but administering it, I don't think that's appropriate.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
if I may, to the councilperson's comments, I think, and I think it was you, Councilperson McCoy, that brought it up, that this probably should be codified in an ordinance. It's one of the ones that are codified by virtue of a resolution. So we can look to bring that back and certainly make some, and I can send that to you all tomorrow, and then you can provide me some recommended edits, and I can bring that back as an agenda item at your next regular meeting to effectively adopt it. If it is ordinance that the board wants to look to adopt, obviously it's a longer process, and I think all of us would agree the state of education and some of the things that we're reading about student performance in our community, we have to lean in, and that's one of the things that we are going to talk to the board about as part of the budget process. So it is the pleasure of the board. We can bring you the resolution with some modifications, or we can look to transition it into an ordinance.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
nothing prevents us from getting started, moving forward with bringing in members on the resolution and codifying it later into an ordinance. I think, I think certainly I read that article and I was very much highly disappointed. Was it earlier this week? So I think there's certainly a need. I just don't want them to be the catch-all when in terms to, we can figure out some other responsibilities. They can, get out into, market the application and, even, have some sort of caucus on them. But, I want certainly, and we've made it a point to fund every application we receive, but I don't know exactly what that means administering, and I don't want anyone to be considering that they've, been left out.
Chair,
Go ahead.
I think that's a good way to move forward. I really want this committee to, I want this committee to be able to advise this council on what is happening in the school system. And as you alluded to, Councilman McCoy, the test scores for Riviera Beach is atrocious, and they're not getting any better. So whatever's happening isn't working. So we need to be able to look at how we are going to address this issue of education in the city, and that we've got to start with ourselves. I know that we are a legislative body. I understand that. This is a committee of the city, but I really want the council to look at the fact that in our school system, with the low test scores and the schools with C's and D's, that is a part of economic development. People won't come here if the schools are not good. They won't buy houses here if the schools are not good. So it is a very serious issue for us to be able to tackle and to move forward with it so that we can understand that these two things tie together. But yes, you can please send that information to all the council members, Mr. Evans, so that they can give us feedback on the resolution itself and if need be, an ordinance.
Additional comments from the board? Go ahead, Ms. Miller Anderson.
I was just saying, are we going to make a motion to postpone or postpone to another date?
Mr. Chair, my recommendation would be to postpone until the next regular meeting of the city council.
All right, so move.
Second.
Comments? Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Spiritus,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Lanier,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem McCoy,
Yes.
Chair Lawson,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Thank you. General public comment? Madam Clerk, how many public comment cards do we have?
We have 17 public comment cards. I believe a lot of the residents have left who submitted cards.
No problem. Public comment shall begin at 7:30 unless there's no further business of City Council, which event it shall begin sooner. In addition, if the items being considered at 7:30, then comments from the public shall begin immediately after the items being concluded. Please be reminded, the City Council has adopted rules of decorum governing public conduct during official meetings, which has been posted at the front desk. In an effort to preserve order, if any rules are not adhered to, the City Council Chair may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting, or the building. Please govern yourselves accordingly.
First speaker will be Lloyd Brown,
You left.
Adela Smith,
Ms. Smith?
Eric Ward,
Mr. Ward, gone. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Ward? He's here. There he is. Welcome, Mr. Ward.
Hi, I'm Eric Ward. I've been in Lone Pine since 1985. The first item is I was dismayed at our last meeting, which I guess was about 2 months ago. Councilman Spiritus made a proposal that to me sounded either Orwellian or maybe even Trumpian. He wanted, instead of using census data to count for who's in the district, he wanted to use land ownership. This brings up a lot of interesting questions. Will owners of multiple properties be counted multiple times? If somebody owns a property that's worth 5 times as much as mine, will he counted 5 times? Will renters still be counted? And of course, if you start going down that path, will these out-of-state owners start to get the vote and they'll be able to vote in 2 places? The rest of the council didn't comment at all on this proposal. I'm hoping that it's because they considered it too preposterous to even consider. I note the irony that rich white people who are trying to get to be able to be counted in 2 different places are complaining about a lack of representation. The other item, of course, is the Lone Pine Golf Course, which you've been really jerking us along on this, canceling meetings and this is the 2nd meeting in a row that's gone really late and then got cut off. But there's something really fishy, it certainly seems, and probably unethical the way this issue that got settled has now come back. For those of you who have voted against it previously, we appreciate that. For those of you who voted for it before, you need to vote against it now, just to show that you're not standing with this unethical behavior that's brought this issue back. It should never be back again. Thank you.
The next speaker is Dolores Williams. Cindy March, followed by Michael Jordan and Tina White.
Good evening, Counselor Cindy March. That's why I say you have to be honest with yourself. You see what happened tonight? That was a real embarrassment. The sad part about it, he was drilled longer than Trump was drilled, and he still couldn't come up with the truth answers. That's the sad part about it. And not only that, he made a statement. I don't want to throw anybody up under the bus. I don't care if you're wrapping a burger and you be that best burger. Be honest to your employees, be honest to the people that you serve. Now, every time he spoke, he looked at Evans. See, it don't only stop, the bucks don't stop just with this young man here, this man here. And then for his assistant to walk out with him, say he was gone. I don't know if y'all pay that any attention. So tomorrow you probably won't be talking to that assistant director because he left along with him. He said he was going to leave if the other one left. You all got to start holding Evans accountable. You know, that's why you got all these positions open. I believe you got over 100 positions open here at the city of Revere Beach, because when you don't get a person to do something that's unethical, then it's a problem with Evans. There's a lot of good employees and directors have left this city because if they don't do what Evans say do, they can't run their department the way they need to run it. It's time out for the BS. Bullshit will take care of itself. All you got to do is be still. And I think that was very unprofessional for us to come in here and y'all drill this man for 3 hours, because it should have started last year in June of 2023. It should have started when Tragic and Lawson got into it for whatever reason. We were so hype on two young black men going at it, but we wasn't hype on the shit in the toilet. That's what we should have been hyped on. It's an embarrassment to the city. We got an election coming up. That's why I say Joe Biden, he can starve out both sides of his mouth, put the shoes on the wrong feet. But one thing about that man, he has transparency. He knew how to reach across the aisle, and he's honest. And that's who I'm going for. I don't care if you're black, white. I'm going to do what's right for the people that do what's right for the taxpayers.
Michael Jordan, followed by Tina White.
First of all, I would like to say hello to the council. I want to start off, this is going to be real quick with me, giving thanks and respect to Councilwoman Lanier. We were in the grocery store. We had some exchange. We dialogued a little bit. I like to thank people openly because, you know, that lets me know that she wanted to give ear to hear to try to find out, you know, what the concerns was and everything. I also would like to give a shout out to Councilman McCoy and as well as Mr. Evans, because I had a situation that was going on with my aunt. He jumped right on it and he fixed it. And Mr. Evans, you know, that backed him up with whatever the directive was, and they handled the situation. But now down to the real business. Okay, I know that there's a lot of issues going on. I know the young man, the utility director that was up there, he was stating, okay, you know, he couldn't answer anything. Okay, now I know the way he reacted was not professional. It was not good. First of all, if you all have monitoring mechanisms in place, then you all need to monitor and watch the documentation so that everybody will put things and communicate things the way that they need to be communicated. First of all, Mr. Evans was fired by you all one time. He turned around and sued, which was his right, and then you all rehired him back. So this is what I'm saying. For what I see, this man ain't the only one at fault. Anytime he got to keep looking at him to get direction, he shouldn't be the only one that should be called to step down. It's other people. It need to fall like dominoes. Now, if we talking about handling business, it has to be handled right. Am I saying fire anybody? No. But if they can't do their job, they don't need to be here. They need work, but they don't need to work here. And I'm just being honest with you. And this is of no disrespect, no attack on Mr. Evans. It's about the business. And second of all, say for instance, if you all got 100 jobs open, it shouldn't be but 99, because the clerk, Miss Deborah, has been the acting interim ever since, I think, Christmas before last. If you ask me, that's how I want to call it. She's proven herself. She's been loyal to you all. So why does she still have acting behind her name? It's about time to move her right there and let her be the clerk. I'm just talking business. What are you waiting on? You know what I'm saying? We're still waiting on the water. That situation ain't fixed yet, and it still ain't fixed. You understand what I'm saying? So I would like to see Miss Deborah have acting removed from behind her name and be the actual city clerk. She has already proven herself. What more does it take? What more does it take?
The next speaker is Tina White.
Good evening, Tina White, homestead taxpayer and certified small business here. I am asking two things of the mayor tonight. I would like for the mayor to use his authority to investigate if Kaufman Lynn made false representation for the Fire Station 88 by saying they were going to subcontract with 14 Palm Beach County small businesses, and they only subcontracted with 2. Mack and Son was here tonight, but you wore him out. He was supposed to receive 9% of the award for Fire Station 88, and that would have been a $1.6 million contract for site work. Kaufman Lynn brought in a company from Broward County to do the site work that was not in their seal response. That's false representation. Dr. Ruta Plumbing, another Black business. Mack and Son has a Riviera Beach business tax receipt. Dr. Ruta Plumbing has a Riviera Beach business tax receipt. He was in Kaufman Lynn seal responses for 6%. That would have been $1.1 million. They used Wright Plumbing, who was not a Palm Beach County certified small business, and did not help them win the award. In the evaluation, Kaufman Lynn got the maximum points selling the Black Hope. We're going to use all these Black contractors. We're going to use 30% subcontracting. 30% of $18 million is what Kaufman Lynn was paid for 88. That's $5.4 million. Kaufman Lynn did not subcontract, but with MCO and Brown Electric that were in their seal response. And those are the only companies that can count toward that 30%. So Kaufman Lynn only subcontracted $2.2 million. That is not 30% that they pledged voluntarily. What is in the seal response, our procurement says, governs the actions of the contract. Nobody has the authority. The manager, the council, the attorney, no one has the authority to change the commitment made in the seal response. You all would be doing yourself a disservice to have a procurement code that says 15% mandatory SBEs and then let the contractor do anything they want to do after they win the award. Those are false representations. I'm asking the mayor to have an investigation to determine if Kaufman Lynn made false representations, because if they did, that is a breach of the contract, and they would have to pay back the city the amount of money that they did not utilize using those businesses in which they won the award. The second thing I'm asking the mayor to do an investigation on is the no bid contract that was given to Kaufman Lynn for Fire Station 87. Our procurement code says anything over $25,000 must be competitively bid. I have asked for a public records request. I've asked for the bid for 87. It does not exist. I asked for the resolution. It does not exist.
Thank you, Ms. White.
That is
Thank
a
you for your comments,
violation.
Ms. Taylor.
That's almost really criminal. $20 million
Thank you for your
without a
comments.
bid.
Next speakers are Aaron Boot, Sylvester McKinnon,
Mr. Booth? Mr. Sylvester?
Wesley,
I think Wesley left.
Oh, he's here.
Welcome, sir.
How you doing? Wesley from Green to Greener, and a certified minority owner of a landscaping company. What I want to know, for Fire Station 87, I put in a bid for the fire station, and what happened was Kaufman and Lynn, I went through the process. I gave them the bond, the workers' comp, the liability, and they came back saying that I needed to fill out a third party to rank my firm to find out if I was going to be able to do business with them. All this time, I was going through the process. They did not tell me that it was going to be a cost behind it too. I don't know why would I have to put a cost in to go and get my firm ranked with this. I did not know if it came to the city councilor Did the chief know about this, or did Terrence Bailey know about this? So what I'm saying tonight is on this situation, I want to know the firm that they did elect, how much was they bid? Because my bid was $190,000 to do the fire station. So I want that document, and then the document that I'm looking at right now, the city manager have a spending limit to sign $25,000. The fire station 87 is $23 million. So I want to know, was it a bid, or was it the process that they went through to find out if Coughlin and Lynn was the contractors to do this job? And 16.561 up under the code, 16.562, 16.565, 16.566, 16.5174. So I want to know the process, and I can please get an answer. And if I don't, I will have to take this to the Inspector General. Thank you.
The next speaker is Joyce Murphy.
Ms. Joyce? Next.
Amon, followed by Ms. Shepherd. And Delcia Brooks Hamilton.
I'm next.
That's what I'm on. Go ahead.
Good evening, Council. Amon. I'm not sure how much we're paying the director. You know, you just can't disrespect our council in that manner. I don't know if he make 150,000 or what he makes, but you just can't do that. No matter what's happening, you answer the questions. Now I'm hearing that he's not able to speak. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's a question someone could have asked. You could have asked him also, because the situation with the water is really growing not in a positive way in the community. And I did sit through probably 90% of the meeting. I heard him speak. I'm really not sure exactly what happened. I do know that I've heard the number $350 million proposed, and I see where the site is to be at. And I really wish y'all drive by there and see that. That's one of the most embarrassing things, to see signs, the banners falling down. That's just a total lack of respect. Yeah, I said that earlier. And to see him kind of storm out the way he did, I think that was very disrespectful also. Um, I'm personally not sure what has happened with the water. I think, I know from the water department, I know you're not allowed to talk to some of the employees. That is good sometimes that's not good. Um, I'm not sure on that. You need to be able to talk to, a lot of them are still citizens. And really the time and the situation that we're in now, we need some very good leadership on the county level. So I definitely want everybody to know that I'm supporting Richard Rouse for county commission. But what we got to be more direct with the water. There's elections coming up, and the people are not sure what's going on with the water. Thank you.
Any comments?
Next
Ma'am.
speaker is Margaret Shepherd, followed by Delcia Brooks and JB Dixon.
Margaret Shepherd, Riviera Beach. As you know, I'm glad you're leaving, sister. You got the wrong sister. Goodbye. No, well, I'll take care of you now.
Shepherd.
I'll take care real good. As you see my shirt, Captain Jeffrey Jackson is running for the Port of Palm Beach. Yes, he's a Democrat. He has a portfolio to die for. 3 houses in the Riviera Beach Housing Authority, 23rd, 29th, 30th. He has a house over in Thousand Oaks. He also has a duplex right there on Blue Heron about to be built. He also has a fourplex that's already built. He is in partnership. He does not own the Heron Estates, partnership with HTG. It was amazing to me when I went to the city council meeting and not the city, the commissioners meeting, that he won $13 million to start building the projects on the Judge Rogers site. It's exciting because I have so many seniors asking, how can they get affordable housing? Jeff has got the portfolio ready to roll, as I hear people say, getting off the ground. So let me go on to his opponent, who says this is just ridiculous propaganda. It talks about 33 million for the fiscal year. It talks about stopping the railroad. It talks about creating 300 jobs. The only thing I know that this lady do, 11 o'clock in the morning, drink 4 glasses of wine with a young gentleman. She comes here protruding that she's this great leader. She's a tramp. She's nothing but
Shepherd.
I'll say
Address
it.
the board, Ms. Shepherd. Address
Wait
the
a minute.
board, Ms. Shepherd.
Wait a minute.
The
Well,
board.
she's sitting here, so she's trailer trash.
But you're here to speak to the
Okay.
board. Ms. Shepherd,
She
your
has
comments.
no right. Wait a minute, Mr. Lawson. She has no right to talk about me.
Ms.
No right. Don't stop me, Mr. Chair, because I'm already mad. If you're going to support somebody, support someone that has the. I know she's yours. I understand it. I heard it. I heard. Shut your damn mouth, bitch. I could talk to you any way I get ready.
All right, guys. All right, guys, come on. Ms. Shepherd. Thank you.
Recess?
Thank you.
Nope. Nope.
I got you.
All right. Listen, we were getting out of here tonight, and Ms. Shepherd, this is not what we're doing. Ms. Shepherd, no,
I know
no, Ms.
she's
Shepherd.
yours. I understand. He told me that you're supporting her.
I'm
You're
not sure
supporting
who
her,
told
that's
you
good.
anything, Ms. Shepherd.
Okay, I
but
should
Ms.
have talked to
Shepherd,
you in confidence.
Ms.
But
Shepherd.
I'm not going to have it,
Can we
Mr. Chair.
move to recess, please? Move to recess, please.
Ms. Shepherd,
I have 15 minutes.
recess.
Oh, God.
The residents, the next outburst will be escorted out. I understand that it's late. I understand we had a contentious night. But what I want the residents to understand is that we do not do that. And that's before, I'm not sure if we're live or not, Walter, but we're not doing that. This is not what the city is about, and we cannot continue to act in this behavior. So please, residents, if we understand, we have to have a sense of decorum. We tried to give grace to what was just happening, but to that same point, that's not acceptable, regardless of your beliefs, politically or not. But we're going to call this meeting back to order.
The next
The
public
time is
speaker, I'm
10:30
sorry.
p.m. We're calling the meeting back to order. Go ahead, Madam
The
Clerk.
next public speaker is Delcia Brooks.
Thank you.
She has
Next,
passed. JB Dixon, followed by Marissa Dawes.
Ms. J.B. Dixon. Welcome, Ms. Dixon.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad I came back from France to this. I have to congratulate the city of Riviera Beach for once again being known for their reputation of being able to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Tonight's meetings, plural, were absolutely disgusting and embarrassing, and how you can expect any business to come here with not just the schools, Councilwoman Shirley Lanier, but the kinds of behavior that has been going on tonight and all of the threats of how, oh, you can't talk, you can't clap, you can't blah, blah, but no one ever throws anyone out. No one ever says, sit down and be quiet. So now, in the middle of finally being able to build a water plant, we fire the utility director. But of course, he's just collateral damage because you want to fire the city manager. It's wonderful. It's just wonderful that in the middle of this, we now have evidently no utility director. How long will it take the inept city of Riviera Beach to find a new one? And who, in God's name, watching tonight's meeting would ever want to take that job? Who would ever want to be the city manager? We got the best city manager this city has ever known. We have the progress, which we keep talking about. But oh no, the council wants, the majority of the council anyway, wants a lackey city manager. And all we hear about is, oh, we can't put up with anyone disrespecting the council. I am not the least bit interested in the disrespect, especially since you have the power to stop it and you do not use it. I am interested in progress. And many, many people in this city worked very hard to bring Jonathan back here after the crazies on the previous councils fired him. And we did that. And you know what? We can do it again. So I think you should remember that. And there's less excuse for the rest of you because you're not crazy and stupid like the people we got rid of. So let's put cards on the table. You want to get rid of Jonathan because you want a weak city manager, a lackey for you, who will do what councils have always had here, and that is why the city has never gone anywhere. With the resources that you have, the potential this city has, that never had.
Thank you for your
It's
comments, ma'am.
disgusting. You're disgusting.
Thank you for your comments.
Next public speaker is Marissa Dawes, followed by Mary Bram and Doretta Polk.
Welcome, Ms. Dawes.
Thank you. My name is Commissioner Marissa Dawes. I am the incumbent Port Commissioner at the Port of Palm Beach for District 2. I also serve as a partner at a law firm. I'm on the County Planning Commission. I'm on the Business Development Board, and I'm on the West Palm Beach Downtown Development Authority. I have worked extremely hard to be here, and to the extent there's any inference or in regard to the questions that the assertions that were just made, I just want to say I have worked my entire life to be where I am right now and to keep on moving up. Okay, so if someone wants to attack me on my record, but don't go and make up these false accusations, which are easily disprovable and frankly defamatory. Especially don't do it to a lawyer. Okay, so let's talk about that record. The port just had its most profitable year in history. We are operating at a $3 million historic profit. Why does this matter? It matters because we don't charge you taxes. We pay for ourselves. We are the only government entity in Palm Beach County that pays for ourselves. And that means that we need to have commissioners like me who understand what we are doing. We understand the economic models. We understand how to generate revenue from them, and we understand how to keep money in your pocket. And I have done that. Currently, this year, right now, we are set to double our past year record of 3 million, and we plan to close this year out at 7 million. So I want to talk about things specifically I've done for this community. It was unacceptable to me that the Riviera community was waiting at long railroad stops. I personally met with my executive director. We changed our onloading and offloading locations so that no one has to wait longer than 5 minutes in Palm Beach County at a railroad stop. 60 to 70% of our employees are minorities. 50% of our government contracts that we award are to minority small-owned businesses. And we do that because in our scoring matrix, we make sure that we give priority to minority-owned businesses and to our minority-owned businesses, the tenants that want to come and stay. So we also give preference to locality. So specifically in Riviera, we attribute those factors. We consider those factors as well when awarding contracts. I am looking out for this community. No one is going to look out for this community as well as I'm doing so. And we also make sure that every month we're investing in a local charity. Most of those charities are in Riviera. We have our Christmas toy drive. Right now we're doing Fund a Teacher. There are numerous programs and we are constantly doing our job. So I ask for your vote and I ask that you will continue to support me on this road to keep me as a commissioner at the Port of Palm Beach. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments.
Next is Mary Brown, followed by Doretta Polk and Jeffrey Jackson.
Welcome, Ms. Brown.
But apparently sometimes things have to be done. But it's just a matter of fact how we do these things here. It was very unprofessional, some things that went on here tonight. We could have delineated a little bit better than what we did. And it's okay because see, that's where that courage comes in at. We have to make hardcore decisions and how we are to move forward and do the things that we need to do. I'm a firm believer, as well as others. I've been getting a lot of taps in on my phone here. Yes, we're going to save some courses and we're going to make some courses better, because if this tonight was not a learning lesson for all of us, you as representatives, as well as the community, we are better than that. Riviera Beach, see what's beneath the surface. This is not our surface here. So these decisions have to be made. On a good note here, the race. You as residents will get up and vote. Your ballots are already out. You will make a decision between the sitting commissioner, Ms. Marissa Doss, as well as Jeffrey Jackson. And it has been some things that have said here. She comes from a very caliber of a family. Doctors, lawyers. She's not a tramp. She's an educated woman. This outburst also happens over on the port side. I don't know what it is with this commissioner here, but we still have to show respect. We can be agreeable as well as disagreeable. And Senator Bobby Powell, we was at an event that was held last week with the young people, talking about some of the laws and stuff that has been passed here, how it would impact them as well as we as residents, and the things that he is pushing forward as well. He's in a race too. You will have that opportunity, Senator Bobby Powell or Attorney Richard Rouse. But we should never get to this point here, whereas that we disrespect each other, because it does not make you look good. It makes you look like the fool, and it makes me the bigger person here. So I say that too, as leadership and as residents and as board members, we have to be better in order to expect betterment from everybody else. And some things that went on here tonight, yes, we could have handled those differently. You may feel as if that there were things had to be done. It's not what we do, but it's how we do it in the realm of the public eyesight. So kudos
Thank
to
you for your
Zurich State,
comments, ma'am.
8 graduating seniors,
Thank you.
20 elementary schools, 20 kids in elementary school.
Doretta Paul, followed by Jeffrey Jackson.
Welcome, Ms. Pope.
Thank you. My name is Doretta Park, and what took place this evening was absolutely deplorable. We as women have to uplift each other up, not try to destroy each other. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your
And
comments.
I'm very apologetic to Mrs. Dorr. Have a blessed night, and let's be kind to each other. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Jeffrey Jackson.
Welcome, Ms. Jackson.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Jackson, and I'm running for Port of Palm Beach, Group 2. I just want to make it very clear that I don't condone certain behavior like that. You guys know I don't talk like that, and that's not representative of what I would have happened to anybody in any situation. But in regards to my running for the port, think you guys have known me. You know, one of my opponents have talked about things that they've done for the community. I think what I've done for the community, not just for the community, but for the country, all of my life, I've dedicated my entire life being a United States Marine and leaving the Marine Corps, decorating Marine, becoming a sheriff captain, and upon my leaving the sheriff's office, Sheriff Rick Bradshaw bestowed upon me one of the highest honors given to law enforcement personnel, Legion of Merit Award. I got a chance to do a lot at the sheriff's office, and the agency invested a lot in educating me to all the major leadership schools, and I excelled in all of them. So I'm running for the port. There's some things I'd like to change at the port. They're too numerous to number tonight, but I can tell you some of the things that every one of the things that I've started talking about on this campaign trail has all of a sudden become main issues that they're working on. Every single one of them. And but if I'm and about some of the stuff that I've done in the community, 90,000 tours a year working with the United States Marines. I've been doing that for 20 years. And I know what it's like to raise money to do those $30, $40, $50,000 shopping sprees when I'm shutting down Target and Walmart and taking all the toys off the shelves. All you guys have to do, and I'm not talking about you, but citizens have to do, is just send a note out to me or Beverly at Toys for Tots and say, I need 300 toys, I need 400 toys. And you're gonna have them year after year. I've been doing that for 20 years. In the last 20 years, I've given away $3 million, in excess of $3 million for kids for college scholarships. So when I hear someone talking about the port had a $3 million surplus, you guys know, Commissioner Lawson, you know, my gift to the AFIS through what we're doing at Judge Rogers' site was an $8 million gift. We're covering that debt through our performer. So when I hear people talk about that, I would feel like an underachiever if all I've done was that. So I'd ask you for your support, and everything I say can be fact checked. You guys have seen some of it on Channel 5. You see it year after year, and we're just going to continue. I hope that to have your support, and God bless, Godspeed.
Thank you for coming, sir.
Mr. Chair, that is the end of general public comment.
Thank you. We have one more agenda item, 11B. I'm sorry. We have awards and presentations tonight. That was 6A. I think we may have Yeah, 6A.
Item 6A, presentation and proclamation proclaiming the month of July as Parks and Recreation Month.
Thank you. Ms. Evans?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, at this time I'll ask for for the mayor to read the proclamation into the record and to accept the proclamation. We have our Parks and Recreation Director as well as our new Assistant Parks and Recreation Director.
Casey. Proclaiming July as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the city of Riviera Beach. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being, and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for sports, hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education. Whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to environmental well-being of our community. And whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect to nature and recreate outdoors. Whereas the House of U.S. Representatives have designated July as Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas the city of Riviera Beach recognizes the benefits derived from Parks and Recreation, now therefore let it be resolved that July is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month in the city of Riviera Beach.
Good evening, Chair Lawson, Council, Mayor, City Manager. Casey Young, Parks and Recreation Director. Just want to thank everyone for this opportunity to accept this proclamation proclaiming July as Parks and Recreation Month in the city of Riviera Beach. Again, this year's theme is Where You Belong. So as your Parks and Recreation Director, just want to encourage all our residents to visit our parks during this month, to participate in recreational activities. Again, it is a good outlet for all of us to participate at mental health wise, exercise wise, health and wellness wise. So again, visit the park, participate in our programs. Currently, we have Riviera Beach Chargers youth tackle football and our cheering dance program that's going on currently. So again, please visit our website to find out more information. And again, thank you for this proclamation. Oh, thank you. And then also to introduce the new Assistant Director for the Parks and Recreation Department, Mike Pinkney. welcoming him in. An asset already. He's jumped in since he's been here. He's been here about a week now. So again, just jumping in with our recreation program. So again, glad to have him on board as well.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Councilman McCoy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Young, Mr. Pinckney. Mr. Pinckney, good to see you again. One of the pieces of feedback that I got just this week was a parent that shared with me she had to do registration, I believe it was for swimming, and that we still require a person to come in person, and there's no mechanism to submit applications online. And I certainly would ask the manager to see if there's some ways that we can kind of bring this into a more intuitive and accessible platform, because if a person can pay online, I mean, certainly they should be able to submit the, fundamental documents to be able to get that done, especially if it's not convenient for a working parent to actually have to take off. And then the surprising part, what she told me was not the fact that she needed to take off, but that she decided to take off early, but you only take applications up to 4:30. And to me, I'm saying to myself, that's pretty limiting. And we're into the 21st century. I would like to see how we can improve on some of those processes.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Councilperson McCoy must have been listening to our budget session today with Director Young, but that's the very same argument he was making for one of the positions he's asking for in his budget, to automate a lot of the processes and manage the website, the online registration, and really push that forward. So you'll be seeing that as part of the budget process.
Thank you.
Welcome to the team. Thank you, Casey. We'll see you guys soon. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Young. Mr. Young has been very, very instrumental in changing a lot of the parks and recs, actual parks in the city. And I want to really commend him for that. And he's been very accessible in terms of asking questions and also having information on the ready for residents and for council alike. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, 11B.
Item 11B, resolution number 101-24, resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, setting the maximum millage rate for the City of Riviera Beach for fiscal year 2024-2025 at a rate of 8.3500 mills, setting the date, time, and place for the first public hearing and providing for an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and properly seconded. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, at this time, I'll ask for the Finance Director, Mr. Randy Sherman, to make this presentation.
Good evening again, Randy Sherman, City Finance Director. As you know, each year we're required to establish the maximum millage rate. We provide that to the county, and the county provides it to our taxpayers as part of their trim notice. The maximum that is being recommended at this time is 8.35 mils, which is our current tax rate. Again, that is the maximum. We can take it down from there during the budget process. The resolution also establishes the first public hearing for Thursday, September 5th, 2024. And I can take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, you say we had no public comment cards?
There are no public comment cards for this item,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair.
Question from the board?
Chair, what was the date, Mr.?
September 5th.
Okay.
Additional comments?
Yes.
Councilman McCoy, go ahead.
I'm almost certain, but surely you would know this, Mr. Sherman. Isn't there an advertisement requirement as far as setting the millage rate? Or is this not?
The September 5th and the second read, yes, but not for the maximum.
Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments? Madam Clerk?
Person Spiritus?
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier? Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem McCoy?
No.
Chair Lawson?
Yes.
The item passes with Chair Pro Tem McCoy dissenting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion by City Manager?
Yes, Mr. Chair. If I can have the two doctors in the back of the room come up to the podium really quick. Mr. Chair and members of the board, a couple of quick announcements, and then I have a request for the board's consideration. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize our civil drug court administrator, Ms. Hayes, who has just recently graduated with her doctorate. So we are certainly proud of her accomplishments, and so wanted to take this opportunity for her to share a couple of remarks. But she's doing a phenomenal job for our community, but certainly continuing her education was something that was pretty outstanding. So I do want to give her an opportunity to address the board.
Sure. Chair, councilperson, city manager. Thank you, city manager. It has definitely been a long time coming. I'm super excited. I'm excited about the work that I'm going to continue to do for the city of Riviera Beach. So again, thank you.
All right, thank you. And then I wanted to introduce Dr. Philip Harris. Dr. Harris is a contractual employee that we brought on to help us with intergovernmental affairs and grants management, has extensive experience. And so he's been putting a lot of things in place and aggressively looking to pursue grant opportunities for the city. And so has a wealth of knowledge and experience, especially here in South Florida. But Dr. Harris, I want an opportunity for you to address the board and share with them some of the things you're working on.
Sure. Well, good evening, council, mayor, through the city manager. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm glad to be here. As he has alluded to, I have a background in public administration over 20-some years, have worked in the Tampa Bay area region, all across the state of Florida, have been here in South Florida for quite some time, just recently as assistant to the city manager for North Miami. And so I'm really excited about the opportunity of bringing these relationships related to grant management, being creating that system across the organization, across all departments, to really help us be successful and to be progressive. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
And lastly, Mr. Chair, we have received a correspondence from the property owner on North Ocean with regards to where our light poles, vaults, and sidewalks are currently placed. In the letter from his attorney, he communicated a desire to effectively resolve some of this dispute and invariably sell an easement to the city so we can keep our infrastructure in place. The proposed settlement for that is a fraction of what it would be to invariably move the infrastructure. And so what I'm asking from the board this evening is authorization for myself and the city attorney to meet with his counsel to effectively work out an agreement and then bring that back before your consideration. And so before we entertained and started expending monies for the purposes of appraisals and any legal fees associated with that, I wanted to get the board's authorization. This should be a very quick process. My hope is to get something in front of you for ratification at your August 7th meeting, and I just wanted direction from the board in order to proceed. Councilman McCoy?
Yes, Ms. Evans, my answer is no, because I have no clue what you're talking about. Like, you got to give me something better than that. Is this the easement that is associated with the underground utilities going across the intercoastal?
Mr. Chair, if I may, these are the light poles that we've had issues with. A couple of them have been cut down. Some of our sidewalks, and I think there's approximately 7 light poles that may be on this particular individual's property. I will forward you the letter that we did receive from council to provide additional clarity on the situation. But obviously it still has to come back before the board, but I did want, consent or authorization to the board to proceed.
But, Mr. Chair, if I can, I certainly don't have a problem with you doing that, but you're looking for me to ratify something that you already inherently have the ability to do. Certainly, we don't have to act until you bring us back something to vote on. But me saying this blindly, I'm not supporting that, Ms. Evans. I mean, you gotta come on. You've been down to the school district contemplating MOUs, so certainly don't sit here and act like you need our blessing.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I didn't want to have a situation whereby you get a call or there's any correspondence or there's an item comes back before you that you didn't, that you weren't invariably aware of, especially considering the sensitivity of this particular matter. And so, to speak even clearer with regards to this, we've received correspondence from, I believe, Mike Ryan, who is the attorney representing Mr. Lozman, that he would like to have, or we'll see if the city wanted to entertain acquiring a perpetual easement, that invariably we would not have to move the city's infrastructure that was set to be on his property because of a discrepancy that was found in a survey that was taken some years ago. And so we've talked about and even looked at the cost associated with removing the infrastructure, and it is significantly more than what the amount that is corresponded in the letter, in Mr. Lozman's letter. He is asking for $125,000 for the easement. And invariably, if the city is able to acquire that easement, then we can go ahead and repair the damaged poles and cure that issue once and for all.
Oh,
Go ahead.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Speaking of survey, I was provided a survey that shows that Halo Development now owns the Fire Station 86 over on Singer Island. So is this the same survey that you're speaking of that would delineate that? Because this certain gentleman told me he was going to put his boat on top of the fire station. So I'm really curious to see what's the city's position on that.
Mr. Chair, with regards to the survey, that's not the survey that that we're talking about. It's the survey that was administered by FDOT some time ago when they were doing some improvements to North Ocean. With respect to the other issue that Mr. Lozman speaks about, that is separate and apart. And in the court proceeding, it obviously communicates that it's between the two property owners, Mr. Canton and Mr. Lozman. And so I know the city attorney's office is working on a memorandum to provide additional context to the board, and that should be forthcoming. But this is something completely separate.
Well, in the spirit of, if this is based off of a FDOT survey, there should be some sort of identification if we're responsible for the light poles that were placed in seemingly that I guess this would cure us having to move it, correct?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. But even still, there was cost that we liquidated costs that we've expended, even dealing with this issue. So if there was an error on someone's part, certainly we should be looking at it. If the cost, cost the agency, dollars that we should not have otherwise spent, unless we relied on their survey. So I would certainly not leave that out there open.
Mr. Evans, I'm sorry, Councilman McCoy, is that everything?
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Evans, my only concern would be setting a perceived value on this easement with this purchase, and which would in turn then create additional value for the remaining parts of the land. So if this easement, or depending on how large of a parcel we're talking for the easement of the city, is then valued at $125,000, does that create a value for remaining land out there?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
One of the things that is a requirement, we would get an appraisal done, and then obviously come back before you all to share with you what the cost of the appraisal is. And invariably, that's a policy decision if it is the board's desire to acquire the easement. Based on the preliminary information, it would be staff's recommendation to effectively acquire that easement because of the cost associated with removing and relocating the infrastructure associated on the property.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Dr. Spiritus.
This is an issue that's been hanging over the residents of Singer Island for years now. There was a survey. I believe the errors and omissions insurance, the statutory time to go after that has expired. We probably should have done that day one. I don't know whether there even was errors and omissions insurance by the surveying company, but regardless, the city took it upon itself on a state project to do the poles and to do the sidewalk. It wasn't the state that did that, it was the city that did that, so the city was in error. They placed more than, on this one individual's property, close to 8 poles on his property, and parts of the sidewalk are on his property. So I'd like to thank the city manager, and hopefully we can move forward and put this situation to bed.
Additional comments?
Yeah, one more comment. Uh, Commissioner McCoy brought up the other survey with the corner marker at the south end there off of Pine Point, and the judge ruling moving the corner marker, and how that's going to impact the rest of the properties on Singer Island. Now, I don't believe there's actually two large areas that are in contention here. I believe the northern area was not included in the judge's decisions. The judge did say that he was only dealing with the western boundary, but clearly someone's going to sue and say, well, if you move the western boundary, then you move the eastern boundary. So I believe the city is working right now with the surveyor and outside counsel to try and come up with some resolution on this or give us some answers on this. So we'll have those responses soon, Mr. Evans.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
Yes, I would have to confirm with the city attorney, but I think any day now we should receive some additional correspondence that will be shared with the board related to that topic.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Additional comments, Mr. Evans?
No, Mr. Chair, that concludes my comments.
Thank you. City attorney?
No comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Committee reports? Statements by the mayor and city council, starting with Councilwoman Lanier.
Yes, a couple of announcements from the Riviera Beach Library. There is a Operation Golden Session going on for elderly residents. It's a program in conjunction with the Shine Initiative that provides information on essential matters regarding Medicare. It'll be on July 22nd, Monday. On Tuesday, July 23rd, there is a Conversations, Connections, and Literacy discussing the book Prequel, and that's at the Riviera Beach Library as well. Tuesday, June 23rd, 2 p.m. The elderly session is Monday, July 22nd at 1 p.m. Also, every second Wednesday is the community engagement. I'd like to thank Major Gordon and thank the chief for their input and their initiation of this project. We really appreciate they had a job fair today that brought over 100 people to the city for jobs. So that works every second Wednesday of the month, and every second Thursday of the month is our education committee, because we are serious about that. And of course, that is something that I want the council and residents to be passionate about. Those are my comments.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I'd like to bring up again what I brought up earlier tonight. There was a settlement agreement submitted to the city. There's been a lawsuit pertaining to whose authority it is to hire the police chief and the city clerk, whether it's the city managers or the city councils. There was a settlement agreement. I would like for the city council to move forward with that settlement agreement. I'm not sure whether we should hold a meeting with the city council and our attorneys prior to discussing this, but I think this should be resolved in the next few weeks.
Mr. Chair?
Attorney Nguyen?
Yes, if I can address that. Dr. Spirit, if you will recall, there was a time, and it's probably been a month or so now, maybe longer, I requested a closed executive session of the council to be able to discuss this, and no one, I believe you were the only one available on the date that I requested. I asked for additional dates, and the council said that they weren't available, and that's where we left it. I will reach back out to council and try to get some new dates, and then request a closed session at our next regular meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments?
You're welcome.
Additional comments? Ms. Miller Anderson?
I have none.
Thank you. Councilman McCoy?
Yes, a few questions for the manager. Mr. Evans, can you give us an update on where we are with security services? In that one meeting, we were explicit in saying that we wanted a solicitation that was not based on price, came back, and the solicitation was still based on price. And I think I shared the concerns. I think PD has done a great job in putting spot vehicles at City Hall, but we have a building full of employees, and we're relying on 2 security officers. And I would hope that we're getting the best of the best when it comes to security officers. That's why I really wanted to see that we do a better job of putting out a solicitation. And it seemed like we, kind of went in a circle. And I want to know, when can we expect that to go back out on the street? Because I subscribe to Demand Star, and I'm seeing a number of different solicitations. And we've asked this now at least twice.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, originally we anticipated our procurement director to start on July 13th. Unfortunately, he got another opportunity that was a more lucrative opportunity. And so we've been successful in selecting another procurement director, and their first day is August 19th. And so I've already had preliminary conversations with her, and she's provided some input on that. So we do want her to be able to provide her expertise with regards to that. So she did watch the meeting where the board spoke on what they wanted to acquire for procurement and had some a really good idea to effectively accomplish what the board's desire is. So ultimately, as soon as she gets in here, that's one of the first procurements that she'll be working on.
Follow up.
Go ahead.
Was there, Mr. Evans, any update on security services? I'm sorry, agent of record, excuse me.
Mr. Chair, that item is slated to come before the board for a bid protest at your August 7th meeting.
Okay. The comments that was made earlier during public comments regarding the audit, I know our code does provide for the ability to go back and do compliance checks and audits for solicitations. And seemingly, the information that I've received by email, excuse me, it's very interesting because I can remember when we had Mr. Joe Geller, Attorney Geller in here, and he put on this case, I was literally making this same exact argument regarding there was only one solicitation that provided the design specifications for Fire Station 88. Ms. Wynn, you were adamant that we were able to do it. You guys brought in Mr. Joe Geller that even insisted. I would hope that we can figure out and have a determination, because this is coming back up. And even more so, there was no compliance involved. And how do we now resolve this issue? Because of the emails, I believe certainly I've received, and surely many members have, and I know administration has, it begs the question, and that was my reluctance with the global tech, that we're sitting here blindly accepting these multi-million-dollar contracts, but nobody's actually going back to ensure that the SBEs from this community, that's registered within Palm Beach County, actually is being utilized on these projects. And it's a fundamental casebook bait and switch when they put something in front of us and then they turn around and they go with someone else. I just can't say that we're doing our duty. I can't stress with you enough, Mr. Evans. This is a tough job I'm certain, for you as well it is for us, but you have more information and you have a much greater advantage than we do. When we get these packets on a Thursday night, it becomes that much more difficult to be able to go through 600 pages. And you know what I realize? It's not just going through our solicitation, and it's not just going through the responses, it's actually going back through the code to see if the code actually if the solicitation complies with the code. And then seemingly to come in here and then try to offer it up. I kind of had that same exact position. And then I can recall distinctly, Councilperson Lanier at the time says, yeah, when I remember this coming out, I thought it was only for one fire station. Only to now find out two things. Number one, when we approved that, that was the last that we've seen of it. But those subcontractors that was listed in their original solicitation not only didn't get to work for 88, they seemingly didn't get to work for 87. That's a problem. I mean, these people are business tax receipt holders, in many cases have an established business within the city.
the mayor brought up this suggestion at our last council meeting. It seems like we've been on a very long break about auditing. I certainly would love to have our multi-million dollar high value solicitations audited for the very purposes of compliance with not just the solicitation, but more importantly, the response that the respondent actually indicated that they were going to comply with, which is exactly why I brought up in Global Tech, their response called out, well, the county's contract called out a 25% SBE, the city's called out a 15%. And then what I did see in there was the Schedule 1s and the Schedule 2s. I've never seen that for 88 and 87. And it seems to me that we've allowed them this whole latitude to come in. And even I've heard that they favor certain council members and administrations, that they finally went and delivered a check that I'm hearing that even actually occurred over the weekend with the accompanying of the city manager and then also the chairperson. It's like, I ain't beholden to nobody but doing the right thing and upholding my oath. And sometimes, we get in these positions and we forget that it's more than just taking pictures. It's about being true to what we actually did on April 19, 2019, and then subsequently later. But I would love to see that we're fair. I mean, it ain't always the most popular thing, and it, sometimes inevitably somebody's going to be mad. But I sleep good at night knowing we did the right thing, especially. And this is to the point that Mr. Lowe, I guess we couldn't make that connection. I expect that this is a system that is antiquated, and there are going to be problems and mistakes. Let's figure out how we can actually own it and recognize and how to move forward. But we can't begin to do that until we recognize that we actually made a mistake and figure out where in the process that it broke down. And now I'm seeing that time and time again. It was brought up to me that there's a whole nother entire issue with our, our city hall solicitation. So I certainly would love that the board will seemingly entertain some sort of conversation about moving forward with having our 87 and 88 obviously audited for compliance with the code in the solicitation that was submitted. So that is my comment.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Evans, go ahead.
Certainly, to the point of the email correspondence, that's something that staff is looking at to effectively provide a memorandum to the board specific to those topics. But, that is a principle and core function of your owner's rep. They're on the site all the time. And so if there is any deviation or any modification or anything like that, that needs to be communicated to the capital projects team and then invariably to administration. So we're definitely going to look into that because we're not on site every day, but certainly we'll look into that. The other side of it is, and pursuant to the board's concerns, in the budget that we're putting forward for procurement, we are making sure that there is a compliance component that's in there and adding additional staff to ensure that there is tracking that effectively occurs as a result of that. And then on Monday, I have a kickoff meeting with our contractual internal auditor, and that's something that I'm going to ask for their help to look into that particular process as well. So,
Councilman, go ahead, McCoy.
That actually, Mr. Evans, as you know, was my other concern, that I wanted to talk about audit services and also the audit committee. So when can we expect something on the audit committee and on audit services? Because seemingly I was at that June 23rd meeting that didn't really go forward. So what's the latest with that?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
I can probably provide the board with some type of update after I do have my kickoff meeting with the internal auditor, because obviously the ordinance requires an audit plan, and so there's some other discussions that him and I need to have, and then invariably I was going to actually have him reach out to you all as well to get your opinions and thoughts, and then effectively have a presentation that outlines what the duties and responsibilities and what they're going to be charged with, but ultimately the management of moving through the audit committee and the selection of an external auditor, because that solicitation has to be, I believe that contract's up in October. So ultimately that has to get before you all here at your September meeting at the latest.
Oh, but Mr. Evans, you mentioned the owner's rep. Now, I actually reviewed that about 2 weeks ago, the scope for the owner's rep PSA. And you're saying to me that compliance with the SBE requirements is a part of their duties? Because I don't recall that part. And if you're not certain,
Yeah.
I don't want to pin you to it, but
Yeah.
I don't recall that.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
I'd have to look at it again. It's been some time since I've looked at it, but in my experience with owner's rep, they they function as the owner's rep, so they're ensuring that there are things that are that we're compliant with the contract, that we effectively accomplish what we said to accomplish, and then provide the corresponding reports. And so I'll reconcile it and look at the document, and we look to provide some update to the board.
Last time, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
From greener to greener, Mr. Wesley came up and said something that was very interesting. And that makes it almost very much possible in a easy way out if we're putting in, or a respondent is responding to a solicitation, putting in, I'm going to go and get ABC company out of Riviera Beach to do, let's say, ceiling tiles. And then when it's time to actually start the work, they're going to require all these arduous extra requirements to create a reason not to do it. I'm really curious to know what that is, because it seems like it's very easy to find a way to disqualify someone, and unless I don't understand, if they're not paying that actual contract in which they won the bid on, then there should be penalties. Someone should be paying, or they need to be paying those folks the money. But it's just not fair to do that, especially if they had something, in terms of binding as a LOI or something. So I would love to see, but I don't think that that's something that I would want an internal auditor to do.
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
If I may, no, they're not going to look at that component. Just audit the compliance, looking at it from the contract, who's managing the contract, making sure that there's the appropriate checks and balances are in place from a compliance perspective, but not getting into the granular details of that.
Last thing.
Go ahead, Councilman.
CBRE. Can you share what's going on with them? Because I'm told that they're not under agreement, and seems to me they're not.
If I may.
Go ahead.
That right now is under legal review, and we should have an update for the board. Worst case scenario will be on your August 7th meeting, or we'll provide you with an update sooner. But yeah, that's under legal review at this particular moment. But they're not reviewing any proposals or solicitations or what have you.
Well, someone sent out an update on Demand Star that it was tabulated, whatever that means. So
Mr.
somebody's
Chair.
doing it.
Go ahead.
The documents are residing with staff. Staff has the documents.
Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments?
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Lanier had a comment first.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about, because this is not just for fire stations or city halls. This is for the water plant. This owner's rep piece. I don't know why we don't hear from them. Why don't they come to the council? Because it seems as if we're talking about $300 million, or we're talking about $20 million, and they're supposed to be the people in the place to protect our interests. And I don't even know who they are, what they do. I'm assuming there's reports that come to the city. We have no clue about what that is. So I think that there's a disconnect between, we put these solicitations out, people bid on them, we award them, and then that's it. We don't hear anything else about it. We may or may not get an update, but I just really want to have more information about what happens after it's been awarded, and what the status of it is as it's going.
Mr. Chair, if I may, we can facilitate a presentation from the owner's rep and put it and make sure it's at least on the utility district side that it's once a month, even if it's just a 5-minute report or a verbal report or a written report. We can. I'll have a conversation with them tomorrow as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilwoman. Are you finished?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilman Spears.
Just to follow up on Pro Tem McCoy's comments with the procurement procedure. I asked the city manager to send me a copy of the resolution for hiring Calvin Lynn and authorizing uh, Station 87. All I received was a resolution authorizing a bond for the firehouses. I didn't see any resolution specifically for Kaufman Lynn or 87. Am I missing something?
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Go ahead.
I'll take a look at the documents. We'll get you the documents.
Thank you. Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Evans, I talked to you earlier about adding the CBRE, but for lack of time, are you sure this is going to be on the next meeting to give us some updates? We have
Yes.
some questions about.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Secondly, and I know Ms. Tina White came up and she discussed about two small businesses, for better lack of a word, that were fleeced, that never received, put on this contract, but never received any work. And you said we're gonna look into it, or we're gonna investigate this.
We're gonna look into it. We're gonna find out, what the nature of the agreement was, and what happened, and then provide the information to the board.
Are we gonna try to do this in-house?
Yes, Mr. Chair. That's one of the things that with our relationship with either our owner's rep, that we can have them look into it and report back what are some of the findings, and see if there is in fact an issue, and if there is an issue, to resolve it.
He said, I'd like to talk to you probably about getting it outside, because if there are owner reps and we don't, one of the complaints up here now is they're not giving us information. And quite frankly, they're not overseeing these projects to make sure that they're being followed. I suggest to this board that we get an outside person to do this. Especially if I hear a number like $2 million could be owed back to the city, I think we need to have an outside to do this investigation.
Yep, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll have a conversation with you, and we can, because we do have a pool of other owners reps that are on a continuing service contract. So if it is another party that looks into it, we can facilitate that as well. So we can talk through it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And just to follow up, Mr. Evans, I do want to have a sit down. One of my biggest concerns is that some of these developers are coming in with this dog and pony show, and that's been an issue across the county. Until we get our policy of disparity study in place to demand and require it, we as a staff and we as a board can make sure that they're actually following through. So if you can follow up with me and let us know when we're going to meet to discuss that. Thank you, sir. Additional comments from the board? No further business. Meeting's adjourned.